Hello everyone. I'm going to take everyone on a path of the court, law. This information will be helpful. There's a lot of people out there giving advice. This is not legal advice. I can't legally give you legal advice. I'm going to teach what I've learned, what has made me understand the basic concept of what a court is and what law is. We are led to believe that law is written, and law it has to be written, but that's really not what our forefathers intended. And there's some people out there that are teaching procedures how to go through the court system, but I really feel that this concept needs to be understood better if you plan on representing yourself in court. The other advantage of understanding this process is that if you do hire an attorney, you understand what they're supposed to do. And there's some links here, websites I'm going to show you to better defend yourself, protect your rights, save some money, and better understand what's really going on out there. They've really controlled what we learned through our government-controlled school systems, where prior to the early 1900s, they taught these procedures where you didn't need an attorney. So I feel the Bar Association attorneys are why we have the problems we do in society today, because we have no way of defending ourselves, because they have made written laws so complex and they've taken over the procedures in the court system, which was never intended to be so complex. So here's a quick understanding of what a court is, and what my understanding what law is, and what our forefathers understood. Bill of Rights is a document that was finally added to the Constitution, because the America was founded in 1776 through the Declaration of Independence. After the Declaration of Independence, they had the Articles of Confederation, which wasn't good enough, so they started drafting the Constitution, which was 10 years after. So in 1786, the Constitution was finally approved after the Bill of Rights was added to it, because the Anti-Federalists like Thomas Jefferson did not want a strong central government. So they figured with the Anti-Federalists, who they knew the problems of a strong central government. So once the Bill of Rights was added, because the Bill of Rights belongs to you, it doesn't belong to the government. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people. Now the word people can be singular and can be plural. So when you hear the word people, it's very important. To dissolve political bands which have connected in one another, and to assume amongst the powers of the earth. This is a very large power they're talking about, and it's very significant. You notice a lot of wording in the Declaration of Independence is not mentioned in any state statutes. So they go on to say to the separate and equal station to the laws of nature and nature's God, entitle them a decent respect to the opinions of mankind. Very big word there. Mankind is not used in statutes. Requires that they shall declare the cause which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, here's the word men, are created equal. Now this statement again was, once King George read this document, he was infuriated, because by saying men are created equal meant the king did not have the power. So this statement makes us all sovereign. This makes us all equal and equal playing field. So the minute King George read this, he basically said off with their heads, all of our forefathers that started the revolution. So all men are created equal. We are endowed by our Creator. Very big word there. With certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men. Yes, we create the government, deriving the just powers from the consent of the governed. that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter it or abolish it, and institute a new government laying its foundation as such principles and organize powers as such form to them as shall seem most likely to affect their safety and their happiness. Very important words. The Declaration of Independence was the first law document ever put in place to secure our natural rights. America was the first nation founded from natural law. Natural law is very important. To understand natural law, there is a video out there at the Mises Institute, done by Judge Napolitano. If you type in natural law, is restraint to tyranny, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Great speaker. Like listening to him. Have a listen. It's a 22-minute video. Check that out. Next path here would be to understand the concept of what law is. So the Declaration of Independence mentions natural law. The Bill of Rights mentions the common law. Now, Judge Napolitano goes on to saying that the word "the" is very important in the Bill of Rights, because "the" means it's something that existed prior to the writing of the document. Yet when you talk to some attorneys, they say, well, common law means precedent, judge-decided law. Well, if judges or public servants decided laws, that would mean that we get privileges from judges. They're not our servants anymore, they're our masters. We don't elect servants. We elect servants, not masters. When we elect someone, we don't make them our master. We make them our servant. They take an oath to the document that we own, which is called the Constitution. So when they say common law, well, common law in their eyes is judge-decided law, precedent. That's not what the Constitution means. The common law means law that's prior to the Constitution. And it was first codified in the Magna Carta in 1215 AD when King John's people tried usurping the rights of him. And they basically made him sign the first Charter of Freedom, which was in 1215 AD. But the concept of natural and common law existed almost another 500 to 1,000 years, even longer before that. So America is founded off a law that is thousands of years old. It's not what we're living under now. This one site here, Berkeley EDU, if you type in the term the common law, you'll come up with very interesting studies. And right here, Berkeley Law, it basically says the common law is generally uncodified. Yes, it's unwritten law. It's common sense. So understand that our founding law is common sense. What is good and what is evil. Very simple, very basic. So you have common law, then you have civil law, and then you have things called administrative law, which in my opinion is more or less a business law. I was in family court the other day, and I said, well, is this the common law court or admiralty court, like a military tribunal court? Which type of court is it? She says, well, you're an administrative court. So administrative law is business law, like you're operating in a business. So the best way I found of learning this is Bill Thornton. He has a very interesting website here. It's 1215.org. Right here it says start here. He has a blue pill and he has a red pill. If you hit the blue pill, you go right to the White House and live this way and understand what it's like to be a servant, basically. Or if you hit the red pill here, it goes to this. And right away it says, if you are an attorney, please understand, herein is a complete different perspective on the law. This is not business as usual. Your education was primarily geared to equity law, which is administrative law. This site is primarily about the common law, which is similar but significantly different. To benefit from it, you must prepare to revamp your perspective. That's if you're an attorney. But if you're not an attorney, you can probably grasp this concept a little better. If you're not an attorney, you're uncomfortable with your knowledge of law, consider purchasing the Compact 2-Day Law course, Jurisdictionary. Jurisdictionary is a great course. This is a attorney in Florida, It is How to Win in Court. It's very affordable, only $250 for a year, and then $99 every year to renew it. But this guy has the most thorough system of understanding how the current court system works. And he's got family law in here. He's got, videos, tactics, moving the court, objection summary judgments, write down every appeals, everything in there. Very educational, worth every penny of it. He has references in here, the trial of Jesus, Robert's Rules of Order, property law, contract law, natural law theory, like I talked about, common law maxims, how to hire an attorney. Very, very good website, very thorough, worth every penny of it. I advise even people that if you plan on going to law school, if you purchase this course, it's going to give you a big head start in understanding law. I think the guy that did this, he has a video, I forget his name here. He says, not knowing this is like having a .357 Magnum in your pocket and walking through a highest crime district and not knowing how to use the gun. Very simple understanding, but great course in understanding the current system of law. Now back to Bill Thornton here. To understand what a court is. Now there's legal definitions. In my theory, Bill Thornton says the same thing, is that they have changed the definitions of words. So when you start getting into this stuff, you might want to purchase like in a Black's Law edition prior to 1966. That's Black's Law 4th and earlier edition. Even the 4th editions, you can buy the reprinted ones for like $100. They're very informative. You start looking up what these words really mean. They're basically tricking us by word magic. And you got to be very careful how you run the court. Because basically, even though there's rules in place, once they become an attorney, they don't even follow their rules. One attorney that recently passed away locally, he said that when he comes to my county, he doesn't know what happens because they don't even follow the law. He has to make sure he has a pocket full of money just in case he needs to get bailed out. This is from an attorney. Because they operate, it's a good old boys network. They take care of one another. But when you go in there pro se, you become a target. They'll abuse you. They'll do whatever you can to you really take your rights away. So understanding the concept, the legal definition of court is the person in the suit of the sovereign. The court is not the building. The court is the people in the room. The court can be had at your house. The court can be had at a restaurant or in a town hall. The court can be anywhere, but the court is the people. It's not the building. Understand that concept. On Bill Thornton's website here, he has this introduction to common law. Session 1, 2, and 3, it's very interesting. What I did a lot of times, and I listened to these, they're about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes a piece, and he helps you understand the basic concepts of what our founders intended a court to be. And granted, the court doesn't operate that way, but what I like about the video is he teaches the basics. And when you go in and represent yourself, it's nice to understand it. Granted, it doesn't work that way anymore, but it gives you an understanding how it's supposed to work. And I advise you to pass this on to other people too. I think I'm about it here. Now we talked about the Bill of Rights. One important topic is the jury and the grand jury system. Due process means you always have a right to a jury and the grand jury. A grand jury is put in place to protect you from the government when they want to charge you with a crime. Because the grand jury is supposed to be of everyday people like you and I deciding if it's right or it's wrong for you to be charged with a crime. So yes, that means they're supposed to judge the law along with the jury. So when you go for jury duty, there's another website out there called FIJA, Fully Informed Jury Association. Very educational. And explains about jury nullification because the government is manipulating the jury process and the grand jury process. Please understand this process. Someone I've learned about recently, Philip Hamburger. He has a great videos out there. He wrote a book. He says how administrative law is unlawful. This law professor out of Columbia Law University basically tells you and explains to you how these administrative court systems they have set up are totally unconstitutional and they're a violation of our rights. So the only way we're going to defend ourselves is by educating ourselves how these courts are supposed to work and then fixing it ourselves. But if we keep on letting these attorneys and the judges who are attorneys rule our lives, it's going to get worse and worse. Philip Hamburger has videos out there. Right here is Administrative Law Unlawful, featuring Philip Hamburger. And he speaks a bunch of different places, Hillsdale here, great videos. I would definitely advise you to watch that too, because he basically hit the nail on the head. Administrative law is unlawful. The courts are operating administratively, which makes them unlawful. But how do you fight a system where they've taken control of? The best is education, because there's so many things they're doing wrong. You can easily prove that they're unlawful in doing it. Sometimes you get lucky and they dismiss your case, and they basically give you what you're asking for to protect your rights. But thanks for listening. Any comments, please leave them below. Any questions, leave below, and I'll do my best to answer them.